You don't need to tell everyone what you're doing. You don't need to explain your plans. And you definitely don't need permission to become who you're meant to be. Because the truth is, the moment you start announcing your moves, you start leaking your energy. Look around. The world is loud. Everybody is talking. Everybody is posting. Everybody is trying to prove something. But very few people are actually building something real. And that's where you separate yourself. You don't rise by making noise. You rise by making progress. So if you're here right now, listening to this, it means a part of you is ready to stop chasing attention and start chasing purpose. And if that's you, make sure you subscribe to this channel, because what you're about to hear might change the way you move forever. There's power in silence that most people will never understand. Silence protects your focus. Silence protects your vision. Silence protects your growth. When you move quietly, people can't interfere. They can't distract you with opinions, doubts, or negativity. Because once people know what you're doing, they feel entitled to comment on it. And not everyone wants to see you win. Some will smile in your face and secretly hope you fail. Others will project their own fears onto you. They'll tell you it's too risky, too hard, too unrealistic. But what they're really saying is, they couldn't do it. And if you listen to them, you'll start doubting yourself. That small seed of doubt will grow, and before you know it, you'll slow down, or worse, you'll stop completely. That's why you stay silent. Not because you're weak, but because you're focused. Because you understand that your energy is limited, and you refuse to waste it trying to convince people who were never meant to understand your journey. Focus on yourself. Not on what others are doing. Not on who's ahead of you. Not on who's watching you. Because most people aren't even watching. They're too busy worrying about their own lives. And the few who are watching, they're waiting for you to slip. So stop performing for an audience that doesn't care about your growth. Start working for a future that depends on it. Real growth happens in private. It happens in the early mornings when nobody is awake. It happens in the late nights when you feel like giving up. It happens when you choose discipline over comfort, again and again. No applause. No validation. Just you, and your commitment. And that's what makes it powerful. Because when you finally show results, people will be confused. They'll ask where you came from. They'll wonder how you did it. They won't see the struggle. They won't see the sacrifice. They won't see the silent battles you fought every single day. But you will know. And that's enough. Stop seeking approval. Approval is addictive. The more you chase it, the more control you give away. You start adjusting your actions to please others. You start hesitating, second-guessing, holding back. And slowly, you lose yourself. But when you let go of that need, something changes. You become free. Free to think your own thoughts. Free to take risks. Free to fail, learn, and grow without judgment. That's when real progress begins. Because now you're not moving for attention, you're moving with intention. There's a difference between being seen and being successful. A lot of people are seen. Very few are successful. Don't confuse visibility with value. Just because someone is loud doesn't mean they're winning. Just because someone is quiet doesn't mean they're losing. In fact, some of the most dangerous people in the world move in silence. They don't announce their plans. They don't brag about their goals. They just execute. Day after day. Step by step. And one day, everything changes. Focus is your greatest weapon. But focus requires sacrifice. You can't focus if you're constantly distracted. You can't focus if you're always comparing. You can't focus if you're trying to do everything at once. You have to choose. Choose what matters. Choose where your energy goes. Choose who you allow into your space. Because every distraction costs you something. Time. Energy. Clarity. And once those are gone, they don't come back. So protect your focus like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. There will be moments when it gets hard. Moments when you feel invisible. Moments when you question if it's worth it. Moments when you want to give up and go back to what's easy. That's when silence becomes your strength. Because instead of complaining, you keep working. Instead of explaining, you keep improving. Instead of quitting, you keep going. And every time you do that, you build something inside yourself that nobody can take away. Discipline. Not motivation. Not hype. Discipline is what carries you when you don't feel like showing up. And the more you rely on discipline, the less you need validation. You stop caring about who notices. You stop caring about who supports you. You stop caring about who doubts you. Because you know what you're doing, and you know why you're doing it. That clarity is powerful. And it's rare. Most people are lost because they're too busy listening to everyone else. But when you stay silent, you start hearing your own voice. Your own thoughts become clearer. Your decisions become sharper. Your path becomes stronger. And suddenly, you're not confused anymore. You're focused. You don't need to rush. You don't need to prove anything overnight. Real success takes time. It's built slowly, quietly, consistently. Brick by brick. Day by day. And the people who rush? They burn out. The people who chase shortcuts? They fall apart. But the ones who stay patient, the ones who stay focused, the ones who stay silent, they last. They win in the long run. So if you're on this journey right now, remember this. You don't need to explain your grind. You don't need to broadcast your struggles. You don't need to announce your next move. Just work. Let your results speak. Let your growth show. Let your life become the message. And if this message is speaking to you right now, if you feel that shift in your mindset, make sure you subscribe to this channel, because this is just the beginning. There's a version of you that's waiting on the other side of discipline. A version that's stronger, sharper, more focused. But you won't reach that version by talking about it. You reach it by becoming it. In silence, you start to realize something most people never do. Silence isn't empty. Silence is full. It's full of awareness. Full of discipline. Full of power that doesn't need to announce itself. When you sit with yourself long enough, without noise, without distractions, you begin to understand who you really are. Not the version shaped by opinions. Not the version molded by social media. But the real you, the one that knows what it wants, even if it's been buried under years of doubt. And that's where your true strength comes from. Because once you know who you are, you become harder to shake. Harder to distract. Harder to break. People will still talk. They will still question you. They will still try to figure you out. But it won't matter anymore. Because you're not doing this for them. You're doing this for you. There's a certain peace that comes when you stop reacting to everything. When you stop feeling the need to respond to every comment, every opinion, every bit of negativity thrown your way. You begin to observe more. React less. Think deeper. And that alone separates you from most people. Because most people live in reaction. They move based on what others say, what others do, what others expect. They're constantly pulled in different directions, never truly in control. But you become intentional. Every move has a purpose. Every decision has direction. And that's when life starts to change. Not overnight. Not instantly. But steadily. Quietly. You'll notice small wins first. Your habits get stronger. Your mindset gets sharper. Your confidence starts building, not from praise but from progress. And that kind of confidence is different. It's not loud. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't seek attention. It simply exists. And when people see it, they feel it. They may not understand it, but they respect it. Because deep down, everyone recognizes real discipline. You'll also notice something else. You start outgrowing things. Conversations that once interested you will start to feel empty. Places that once excited you will start to feel draining. People who once felt close will start to feel distant. And that's not something to be afraid of. That's growth. Growth isn't always comfortable. In fact, most of the time, it's lonely. Because as you level up, your environment has to change. Your standards rise. Your mindset shifts. And not everyone can come with you. Some people will misunderstand your silence. They'll think you've changed. They'll think you've become distant or arrogant. But what they don't see is, you've become focused. You're no longer available for distractions. You're no longer interested in things that don't align with your goals. And that's a necessary shift. Because you can't build a new life with old habits. You can't reach a higher level while staying in the same mindset. Something has to give. And sometimes, it's the noise. So you choose silence. Not as an escape, but as a strategy. You protect your time. You guard your energy. You invest in yourself. Every single day. Even when no one notices. Even when no one claps. Even when it feels like nothing is changing. Because you understand something most people don't. Consistency beats intensity. It's not about doing something big once. It's about doing something small, every day, without fail. That's how you build momentum. That's how you create real change. And the beauty of it is, it compounds. The effort you put in today might not show tomorrow. But give it time. Days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. And suddenly, you're not the same person anymore. Your thinking has changed. Your habits have evolved. Your results start speaking louder than any words ever could. And that's when people start to notice. Not because you told them, but because they can see it. They see the discipline in your actions. They see the confidence in your presence. They see the difference in your life. And they'll ask questions. How did you do it? What changed? What's your secret? And you'll realize, there is no secret. Just focus. Just consistency. Just silence. While they were talking, you were working. While they were watching, you were building. While they were doubting, you were improving. And now the results speak for themselves. But even then, you stay grounded. Because you know this isn't the end. It's just another level. And the same principles still apply. Stay focused. Stay disciplined. Stay silent. Because success isn't something you reach once. It's something you maintain. And maintenance requires the same mindset that got you there. So you don't get comfortable. You don't start seeking attention. You don't fall back into old habits. You keep moving the same way. Quiet. Intentional. Relentless. There will always be noise around you. Opinions. Trends. Distractions. But you've learned how to tune it out. You've learned how to stay locked in, no matter what's happening outside. And that's a rare ability. An ability that puts you ahead in any area of life. Because in a world full of distractions, focus is a superpower. And silence is what protects it. So keep going. Even when it's hard. Even when it's quiet. Even when it feels like no one sees you. Because one day, they will. But by then, you won't need them to. You'll have built something deeper than recognition. You'll have built yourself. And if you're still here, still listening, still committed to becoming better, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Because this journey, it's not about quick wins. It's about lasting change. And that only comes to those who are willing to stay focused, and stay silent. Begins to shift inside you. You stop chasing motivation. Because you realize motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Some days you feel unstoppable. Other days, you don't even feel like starting. And if you depend on that feeling, your progress will always be inconsistent. So you let it go. You replace it with something stronger. Routines. Habits. Standards. You wake up and do what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. You don't negotiate with yourself anymore. You don't wait for the perfect moment. You don't need the right mood. You just move. And that's when you become dangerous. Because now, your progress is no longer tied to emotions. It's tied to decisions. And decisions can be controlled. This is where most people fall off. They start strong. They feel inspired. They talk about their goals, share their plans, get excited about what they're going to become. But when the excitement fades, so do they. Because they built their journey on feelings instead of discipline. You're different now. You've learned to keep going even when it's boring. Even when it's repetitive. Even when it feels like you're not getting anywhere. Because you understand, this is the process. Not every day will feel meaningful. Not every step will feel like progress. But every single action counts. Every time you choose to stay focused instead of distracted, you win. Every time you choose silence instead of unnecessary noise, you win. Every time you show up when it's hard, you win. And those small wins stack up. Quietly. Powerfully. Until one day, you look back and realize how far you've come. You'll barely recognize the person you used to be. The one who needed validation. The one who got distracted easily. The one who doubted themselves. That version of you fades, not because you fought it with words, but because you replaced it with action. And action doesn't lie. It reveals who you are becoming. At some point, you'll notice something else. You're no longer impressed by talk. You've heard it all before. Big dreams. Big plans. Big promises. But now you understand that words are easy. Execution is rare. So you stop paying attention to what people say, and you start paying attention to what they do. And more importantly, what you do. Because your standards have changed. You expect more from yourself now. Not perfection, but consistency. Not shortcuts, but effort. Not excuses, but responsibility. And with those standards comes a new level of respect for your own time and energy. You don't waste it anymore. You don't entertain distractions that don't align with your goals. You don't engage in conversations that drain you. You don't involve yourself in things that don't move you forward. And that's not arrogance. That's awareness. You finally understand the value of your focus. And you refuse to give it away cheaply. There will still be challenges. Moments when life tests you. Moments when things don't go your way. Moments when you feel like everything is slowing down. But instead of reacting emotionally, you respond with control. You adapt. You adjust. You keep moving. Because now you know, setbacks are part of the journey. They're not signs to stop. They're lessons to learn. And every lesson makes you stronger. Wiser. More prepared. So instead of complaining, you analyze. Instead of quitting, you refine. Instead of making noise, you go quiet and get better. That's your edge. That's what sets you apart. Anyone can talk when things are going well. But it takes real strength to stay silent and focused when things are hard. And that's exactly what you're building. Strength that doesn't need to be seen to exist. Confidence that doesn't need to be heard to be felt. Progress that doesn't need to be announced to be real. And as this continues, your life begins to reflect it. Opportunities start showing up. Doors begin to open. People start noticing the results. Not because you asked them to, but because you earned it. And even then, you don't lose yourself. You don't become loud. You don't start seeking attention. You don't forget the mindset that got you here. You stay the same. Focused. Disciplined. Silent. Because you understand something deeper now. This isn't just a phase. It's a way of living. A way of moving through the world with intention. A way of building a life that doesn't rely on external validation. And once you reach that level, there's no going back. Because you've seen what's possible when you commit to yourself fully. When you stop dividing your energy between distractions and focus. When you stop explaining and start executing. When you stop talking and start becoming. So keep going. Keep showing up. Keep putting in the work. Keep protecting your peace. Even when it's quiet. Even when it's slow. Even when no one is clapping. Because the reward isn't just the outcome. It's who you become in the process. Stronger. Sharper. More disciplined. And most importantly, in control. And if you've made it this far, if you're still listening, still locked in, still ready to level up, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Because this journey doesn't end here. There's always another level. Another challenge. Another version of you waiting to be built. And the only way to reach it is to stay focused. And stay silent. And as you continue forward, something even deeper begins to take root. You become comfortable with being misunderstood. At first, that used to bother you. You wanted people to get you. You wanted them to see your vision, to understand your decisions, to support your path. But now, you don't need that anymore. Because you've realized something powerful. Not everyone is supposed to understand you. Some people only understand the version of you that stays the same. The predictable version. The version that doesn't grow, doesn't challenge itself, doesn't step outside what's familiar. But the moment you start evolving, the moment you start thinking differently, moving differently, prioritizing differently, you become unfamiliar to them. And instead of trying to explain yourself, you accept it. You let your growth speak in ways words never could. Because explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you is a waste of energy. And your energy is too valuable now. You've learned to redirect that energy inward. Into your goals. Into your discipline. Into your development. That's where the real transformation happens. Not in conversations. Not in arguments. Not in proving a point. But in quiet, consistent action. You begin to trust yourself more. Your decisions become quicker. Your instincts become sharper. Your confidence becomes steady. Not because everything is perfect, but because you've built a relationship with yourself. You've spent time alone. You've faced your own thoughts. You've worked through your own doubts. And that kind of self-trust is rare. Most people avoid silence because it forces them to confront themselves. But you embraced it. And because of that, you grew. There's a different kind of power that comes when you no longer fear being alone. You don't rush into distractions just to fill space. You don't cling to people just to avoid silence. You don't depend on noise to feel alive. You become grounded, centered, independent in a way that's not cold, but strong. Because now, your happiness isn't tied to external things. It's built from within. And that makes you unshakable. There will still be moments where the world tries to pull you back. Moments where distractions look tempting. Moments where old habits try to return. Moments where the easy path calls your name. But now you see it for what it is. A test. A test of your focus. A test of your discipline. A test of your commitment to the person you're becoming. And every time you choose the harder path, the better path, the focused path, you pass. You reinforce your identity. You prove to yourself that you're not the same person anymore. And that builds momentum. A quiet momentum that doesn't need to be announced. It just grows. Day by day. Choice by choice. Until it becomes who you are. At this point, you're not forcing discipline anymore. You're living it. You're not chasing focus. You are focused. You're not trying to stay silent. Silence has become your default. And that's when everything aligns. Because now your actions, your mindset, and your goals are all moving in the same direction. There's no confusion. No hesitation. No wasted energy. Just clarity. And clarity changes everything. It allows you to move faster without rushing. To make decisions without second guessing. To stay calm in situations that used to overwhelm you. Because you've trained your mind. Not through noise, but through silence. And as this continues, your presence starts to change. You don't need to speak much for people to feel you. You don't need to explain yourself for people to respect you. There's a quiet confidence in the way you carry yourself. A certainty. A calm intensity. And people notice it. They might not say it out loud, but they feel it. Because it's rare. In a world where everyone is trying to be heard, you've mastered the art of not needing to be. And that sets you apart in ways you can't even fully see yet. Opportunities will come your way not because you asked for them, but because your discipline attracts them. Respect will come your way not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. And success, real success, will come your way because you built the foundation for it in silence. No shortcuts. No noise. No distractions. Just work. And even as things improve, you don't lose your edge. You don't forget the struggle. You don't forget the quiet nights, the early mornings, the moments when it felt like nothing was working. Because those moments shaped you. They built your resilience. They taught you patience. They showed you what you're capable of when you don't give up. So you carry that with you. Not as a burden, but as fuel. Fuel that keeps you grounded. Fuel that keeps you hungry. Fuel that keeps you focused. Because you know, there's always another level. And reaching it requires the same mindset. The same discipline. The same silence. The same focus. So you stay locked in. You keep improving. You keep evolving. You keep showing up. No matter what. And if you're still here, still listening, still committed to becoming that version of yourself that most people only talk about, then make sure you subscribe to this channel. Because this journey isn't about hype. It's about transformation. Real, lasting, internal transformation. The kind that changes your life from the inside out. And it all starts with a simple decision. To stop looking outside for validation. And start building inside with focus. And silence. And somewhere along this journey, you begin to notice something almost invisible at first, but undeniable once you see it. Your mind becomes quieter. Not empty, but controlled. The constant noise that used to fill your head, the overthinking, the worrying about what others think, the need to respond, to prove, to explain, it starts to fade. And in its place there's space. Space to think clearly. Space to decide calmly. Space to act with purpose. This is where real power lies. Because when your mind is not crowded, your vision becomes sharper. You stop reacting impulsively. You stop making decisions out of emotion. You start moving with precision. Every action becomes intentional. And intention changes everything. You're no longer just busy. You're productive. You're no longer just active. You're effective. There's a difference. A lot of people confuse movement with progress. They stay busy all day, jumping from one thing to another, distracted, overwhelmed, exhausted. But at the end of it all, nothing meaningful has changed. You've stepped out of that cycle. You've learned to slow down where it matters, so you can speed up where it counts. You focus on what actually moves your life forward. And you let everything else fall away. That's not laziness. That's discipline at a higher level. Because it takes strength to say no. It takes awareness to cut off distractions. It takes confidence to move differently from the crowd. And you've built that. Piece by piece. Choice by choice. There's also a new kind of patience growing in you. Not the kind that waits passively, but the kind that works quietly while trusting the process. You're no longer in a rush to show results. You're more interested in building something that lasts. Because you've seen what happens when people chase quick success. They burn out. They lose focus. They fall apart when things don't go their way. But you're building slowly. And that's your advantage. Because slow, consistent growth is hard to stop. It's stable. It's solid. It's real. And the longer you stay in this mode, the stronger your foundation becomes. At some point, you'll realize that silence is no longer something you have to remind yourself to practice. It becomes natural. You stop oversharing. You stop explaining your next move. You stop seeking reactions. Not because you're hiding, but because you're focused. You understand that not everything needs to be seen to be valuable. In fact, the most important parts of your journey will never be visible to others. The discipline. The sacrifices. The internal battles. Those things happen in silence. And they're what shape you the most. You also become more selective. With your time. With your energy. With the people you allow into your life. Because now you see clearly. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves your attention. And that's okay. You're not here to please everyone. You're here to build something meaningful. And that requires boundaries. Strong ones. Boundaries that protect your focus. Boundaries that protect your peace. Boundaries that protect your growth. Without them, you'll be pulled in every direction. With them, you stay centered. Locked in. Unshaken. There will still be moments where the old version of you tries to resurface. Moments where you feel the urge to explain yourself, to prove something, to react. But now you catch it. You pause. You breathe. And you choose differently. That pause is power. Because in that moment, you're no longer controlled by impulse. You're in control of yourself. And that's what this journey has been building all along. Self-mastery. Not control over others. Not influence over the world. But control over your own thoughts, actions, and reactions. That's the highest level. Because once you have that, everything else becomes easier. You don't get easily distracted. You don't get easily shaken. You don't get easily discouraged. You stay steady, focused, silent. And as this continues, your results begin to reflect it in ways that can't be ignored. Your work improves. Your opportunities expand. Your life starts aligning with the effort you've been putting in. And people will notice. But by then, you've changed. You're not doing it for them anymore. You're not chasing their attention or approval. You're simply living in alignment with who you've become. And that's the real reward. Not just success on the outside, but strength on the inside. A level of discipline that keeps you grounded. A level of focus that keeps you progressing. A level of silence that keeps you protected. And if you're still here, still listening, still committed to walking this path, then you already know what to do. Stay consistent. Stay disciplined. Stay focused. And above all, stay silent. And if this message continues to resonate with you, if you're serious about transforming your mindset and building a life that speaks louder than words, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Because this isn't just motivation. This is a mindset. A way of living. A quiet, powerful path that only a few are willing to take. But those who do, they don't just change their lives. They redefine them.